Welcome to World of Marketing Podcast, a Foster Web Marketing production. Here's your host, Tom Foster.
All righty. Hey, everybody. It's Tom Foster here at the World of Marketing, and I have a very special guest, my good buddy. I've known him for a long time, Brian Mitchell. Yes, the Brian Mitchell. Washington Redskin. That's all I'm going to say. Famous Washington Redskin, right?
That's cool. Yeah.
I mean, and the accolades are endless, and the things that you have. We're going to show some of that here. But thanks so much for coming.
No problem.
We've known each other for a while.
It's been a while.
Yeah, and we're fortunate enough to do your website.
Yes.
And but what's interesting about you, and this is really what I want to talk about, is what you've been able to do with your life. From growing up in Louisiana, you're the youngest of 7.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it was fun, to be totally honest with you. One thing about, like I tell people, when I was growing up, I felt I was the richest person in the world because we had love. We never wanted for anything. We worked a good bit of it because we had a farm. We fished a lot, and my dad always had us give stuff away. But having 4 older brothers, I could bounce stuff off of them. And my little motto is that my brothers taught me the game. My sister showed me how to survive in it because the 2 girls are the oldest, Linda and Frida. And they were basically those guardian angels where they basically made sure I understood right from wrong and things like that. Because, my brothers would tell me some things sometimes that didn't work. And my sisters got me back in line. But it was a lot of love in our family, and I think that's the whole thing. You grow up with that big family, you think that somebody's going to be shorted on a certain thing. Never was. Everybody got the same love.
I love the story that you told me a while ago, how you would watch your older brothers and sisters and see who got in trouble and what they did. And you're like, I'm not doing that.
Well, the thing is like, and I know so many times kids do something and people want to try to put the fault on the parent or what the parent did. And I just think that it comes down to eventually you have to make decisions and make choices. And as a young man, I was attentive and alert. So when my mom talked about certain siblings, they had that stress on their face. And when they talked about others, they were always smiling. I figured I'll follow them, and that was Daryl, Linda, Frida, Michael, Blanche, and Tyrone. I kind of shied away because they had the stress when they were dealing with them. And if you look at as we went through life, you can see who made the right decisions, who didn't. And I think people, instead of making you understand, it's on you. We have a lot of psychiatrists and psychologists and we got all these different phobias and manias that are popping up. I think people make stuff up so they can get paid, because 7 kids with the same upbringing and 5 ended up good. 2 didn't. Is it the parent fault or is it the kid but for not making the right decisions?
Right. It's always choices.
Yeah.
So how does somebody come from where you came from to become like one of the most premier NFL players of all time? So tell that story.
All right. I would say that was because I had a father who was in the military for 20 years. Mm-hmm. He got out the military, was a chef and jack of all trades, basically. And the one thing that he gave me that I think is going to take me through the rest of my life and what I try to instill in my son and my daughters, hard work. My dad dropped out of high school because his mom wouldn't let him play football. And he took his GED and he joined the military and he stayed there for 20 plus years. I was in the 9th grade and I was a starting quarterback, and my mom didn't want me to play because she said I was small, my baby. And I was the starting quarterback for the varsity football team. And she didn't want me to play. And my dad was like, you remember what happened to me? And she's like, he's not going to do that. She said, okay. He said, y'all say he's like me. So he just kept telling me, say, look, don't get hurt, but you got to work harder. You're not the biggest, you may not be the fastest, but you're going to have to work. And he said, if you work hard as you can, learn as much as you can, get your education, he said, you can do anything you want to do. And I think so many times when you hear young athletes talking about what their goals are, and they all want to be in the Hall of Fame. They all want to be a Pro Bowler. They want to be in the NFL. but nobody ever talk about they just want to be the best they can every day and put the work in. And that was instilled in me as a young age. I tell people I never saw a tree cutter. I never saw somebody cutting my lawn or either my aunt's lawn because I was always the one that was volunteered to do it. We had chickens, ducks. We had farm. We did everything. If a pipe burst under the house in Louisiana, the houses are off the ground.
Right.
One of us had to go under. I was the smallest, so I was the one that normally had to. I knew how to cut, put stuff together, put the little solder and all that stuff on it to make sure it worked. So I think the reason I was able to get where I'm at and the reason I'm still successful is that I don't look at something and say I can't do it. And once I'm into it, I may not know everything, but there's no way I can't figure it out. And I think in this day and age, you can Google and YouTube everything.
Sure. And
figure out a way to get it done.
Right. So tell me a little bit and tell everybody a little bit about how you transition. Like, how did you get in the NFL? Tell that little story about college years and all that.
Well, I was a quarterback in college as I was in high school, starting in 9th grade. And
a lot of people don't know that you're a quarterback, and you were the third quarterback.
Yeah, I was
for
the emergency
Redskins.
quarterback. The body bag game, they always go back to that. That's the reason I was when I got here, Russ Grimm was the emergency quarterback. And then Coach Gill said, all right, we can now move Russ. We got us a quarterback here.
Yeah.
But, being I wanted to play quarterback in college. And I wanted to play it because I felt that more attention would be on me in a sense to give me an opportunity to be able to get to the next level. The offense that I ended up running, Nelson Stokely, who was with Clemson when they won the championship in, I think, 81, he was our head coach. And he said, I'm going to give you a chance to start your first year. Well, all these other colleges wanted to redshirt me or wanted to move me to another position. And I'd already received the academic scholarship from the school, University of Southwestern Louisiana, which is now Louisiana Lafayette. So I ended up getting there. And when I signed, I was 186 pounds. When I left, I was 200 pounds. And that's because my strength coach was like, look, if you're going to be the quarterback that they want you to be, you're going to have to be physically tough.
Yeah.
And I lift weights. I ended up power cleaning over 380 pounds.
Wow.
I benched 4-something, and I squatted 615. And didn't miss a game because of injuries in 4 years. The NFL comes along, and I had one scout say, well, man, I don't see you doing a lot of shaking. You're just always going forward. I'm like, isn't that the object of football?
Right.
So I think getting drafted by the Redskins in the 5th round, Don Bro had come to work me out. He and Kirk Mee, who was the scout here, and Don Bro was the running back coach from Lake Charles, Louisiana. Okay. Yeah. So they came in to work me out, and I had a hamstring pull. And I ran 4.41 for him with the hamstring pull because I had the physical therapist that morning. I was crying when they would get me right, and I ran my stuff, and he said, you can play in the NFL. The last thing they said to me. And prior to that, I had gone to this All-Star game. It was to be called the All-American Bowl. It was for historically black colleges and universities. I didn't go to HBCU. And the guy who ran it, he noticed, he was driving through, he saw my stats. He said, nobody's going to invite this kid to any other bowl game, so I'm going to invite him. And when I got there, I had a little animosity towards him because everybody, you're not from but I ended up playing well, and that's where Emmett Thomas saw me, and he came back to the Skins. I ended up getting drafted, and Wayne Sevier told me, he said, the only way you're going to make this team, he said, you're not a quarterback, you're not a running back, you're going to be a punt returner and a kick returner. All my life I said that whoever does that has to be out their damn mind. So guess what? Brian Mitchell became out of his mind, and I looked at Mike Nelms. I had Joe Howard Johnson and Walter Stanley were on the team with me. I soaked up everything, and I said if I get a chance, I'm not coming out. And in that body bag game, Joe got knocked out. Joe hurt his knee. Walter got hurt his knee. Joe got knocked out. I got my opportunity, and the rest is history.
Do you know your stats?
I know some of them.
Combined kickoff and punt return yards, 19,013.
Oof.
That's a lot. That's a
A
lot,
lot
of
of
running.
running.
Combined kickoff and punt returns, 1,070. Oldest player to have an 85-plus yard run. You were 32 years and 44 days. All-purpose yards in a single decade, 1990 to 1999, 16,905. It's pretty good. Hey, good job on the stats there,
That's all right.
Thomas.
Good stuff.
Right?
Good stuff. But, you know, and this is the thing. I knew nothing about that while I played.
Sure.
I remember when I got to Philadelphia, and they were like, do you know where you stand all the time? I'm like, I'm not finished. They said, what do you mean? I said, when I'm done, I can look at that. And they started to tell me those stats, and then it got to a point where every time I stepped on the field, caught a ball, and if I fall forward, I set a new record.
Yeah.
And they say, well, how did you not know? I said, because you don't play football for stats, you play to win. So I'm trying to do what I can to help the team win that day. And also, you know, we started talking about what ability you need to play in the league. The best is availability. The best is accessibility. The fact that you can be there for your team game in and game out, I think is something that not many people give a lot of credence to, but they should. Because we have a lot of guys who've been absolutely great when they're healthy.
Yeah.
But if you're hurt more than you're healthy,
Sure.
are you helping your team?
What about heart? What
Oh,
about,
yeah. And then that's the whole thing. And I think my life is based off of heart.
yeah.
And I look at it in many phases. When people would describe me, they say, man, that kid right there, he has a lot of heart. You know, he's not afraid. I'm going to go out there, and I don't care how big you are, how tough you think you are, you're not going to outwork me. Compassion, you know.
Yeah.
My mom and dad taught me about the you know, you're blessed, you have to be a blessing. So trying to help others, you know, be philanthropic and doing things when necessary. You know, just being kind sometimes, that's the biggest thing in the world for some people. Then my dad passed away of a heart attack, you know, and that gets me emotional all the time because my dad was my hero, bigger than any person that I've ever saw on football field, whatever. And when he passed away, I did a lot of work with the American Heart Association because I know how I felt, and I didn't want other people to have to feel that. And if we can find a cure or a way that people can have more years with their parents, I want to see that.
Yeah.
So that's my whole deal. I eventually be writing this book called Heart, and it'll be about those three different things that basically fuels Brian Mitchell.
It's so true. And before I met you personally, obviously, I was a huge fan of you as a Redskin player. Are we having some weird thing? One, two. It's like it's out in one ear or something. Okay. We good? Yeah. So, Brian, I grew up. You know, that's not. I watched you play, and you were my favorite. And I'm not just saying that. And that's why I say you always played with heart. Like, I remember jumping up and down, screaming to put you in the game. And you were the third down back, and like you would go in there, and you always you were one of the most unique looking football players because you had these giant shoulder pads.
Yeah, protect the shoulders.
And you would just blow through people. None of this jazzing around,
No.
you know, just north-south running right up the middle. And I just loved that. And you always played with such heart, and that's one of the things and when I met you, it just shows that's who you are as a person. And what you do now with your life and the way that you give back, the way that you were just saying, and in all things. And when we were sitting down here just talking before we started this, and you were showing me all the turkeys that you and your buddy had put together for people.
Yeah.
And you always, whenever I see you, you always have these stories about that. So I want to talk about how, or really, why do you do that? You know, after you very successful NFL career, like more successful than most.
Yeah.
And you're a broadcaster and very successful post NFL career. So, what continues to motivate you to participate and give back and not just kind of sunset yourself?
You know, the question I would say is why not? You know, I think ultimately it's who I am, as you stated earlier. is what my mother and father taught me. I can remember my grandfather had this property, and we had these gardens. You know, we say gardens. I guess it was a farm in a sense. 800 yard rows and 400 yard rows, and you got sweet potatoes and regular potatoes and collard greens and mustard greens and tomatoes and corn and, you know, everything that we basically need to survive. And my dad would make us go with them, and we would go harvest a lot of stuff and come home, and I'm thinking we don't have enough room to put all this stuff up. I know. So we clean all the stuff up and bunch it like you do when you're selling. You know, down south, you get the little vegetable truck, watermelon, collard green, fish, all that. Well, he didn't allow that. So my whole street was all relatives. So after we finished cleaning up, then you go take it to them. And I'm like, they have sons. You know, why they're not doing it? And he's like, you know, you'll realize one day what I'm talking about. And why I have you do these things. And that was instilled in me. We go fish. One day we had the river had rose so high we couldn't get to our nets. And then it went down and we got to them. We had like 500 and some pounds of fish. And as a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, I can go down the neck, up the backbone, and back up the scale, fillet the fish. So me and my brothers filleted all that fish. And then he's like, take this down to this person, take this down to that person. I'm like, Dad, they sell this stuff. He said, just take it to them. So it's like everybody in my whole neighborhood, whenever they got a lot of something, they shared it. And, you know, you start looking at the Bible and things, and it tells you basically, when you're blessed, be a blessing. You know, when you have something, you got to help people out. And this became that mindset of the village, taking care of the village.
Yeah.
And it just became who I was. And I can remember a week before my dad passed away, to be totally honest with you, after coming up here and hanging out with Darryl Green and Ernest Biner, you know, and watching those guys giving their time and doing charitable work and watching Coach Gibbs, the unbelievable man that he is, I was like, wow, this is what he was talking about.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't get here by just working. I got here because I did good deeds and I was helping people, and, you know, you get a little extra
karma.
Luck, blessings.
Karma,
yeah. And I told him, I say, I get what you were trying to teach me. Because I remember, you know, I didn't want to get a new bicycle, and my aunt gave me like $60 to cut her grass. $60 when I was 12 is a lot of money for a 12-year-old. And he was like, how much she give you? He gave it to her. He gave it back to her. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, man, that's your aunt. Just do that for her for free. I'm like, damn. But then he bought me the bicycle.
Yeah.
You know, and I went back again. She gave me money. He gave it back to her. You know, but I was able to get the stuff I wanted because I guess he was trying to show me if you work hard, you can get anything you want to get. You know, you may not be able to get the money and go pay for it yourself, but some type of way you'll get what you want. And he was always doing those type of things. And my mother was the same way. We had 7 kids, but when she cooked like she was cooking for the damn whole neighborhood. And her reason was somebody may stop by and they may need something to eat.
And that's what you're doing now.
And that's exactly how I try to keep doing. Yeah.
You do that with your kids too.
Oh, I teach them. Yeah. And I think my son is very giving. My daughters and my middle daughter is like a reincarnation of my mother.
Oh, really?
You know, she is the most giving person in the world. But they all have this little giving spirit. And I think at one point my youngest and middle daughter were making these little snack bags and taking them to the homeless shelter. And I'm like, why? She said, well, they wanted to do it. I'm like, oh, good.
That's nice.
You know, it's cool to see when your kids start doing things you're trying to teach them. And I can remember when Bria, my oldest daughter, was maybe 15, 16. She wrote me this letter. I said, I don't want any gifts for Christmas. Just write me a letter of what I mean to you or what things I've taught you. And she was talking about if she could just one day be as successful as I am and have the work ethic that I have, she'll be great. She just want half of it. And that meant a lot, you know,
sure.
That they see what you're doing and they get it.
And that's really good because it's considering they're probably living a lot better off than you did growing up, right?
Much.
I mean, yeah, for sure. And
yeah.
so that's great
Yeah.
that you've been able to instill that in them.
My dad told me, he said, my goal is to make sure that you are going to be able to provide better for my, he didn't say your kids, my grandkids, as he said, than I did for you. And he said, I want you to make sure you instill that in them so they can do it for your grandkids. And I'm trying to carry that legacy on.
So is that, you do a lot of public speaking. Mm-hmm. So is that what you talk a lot about? Tell me a little bit about what you speak about.
I talk about, self-motivation, mm-hmm. talk about teamwork and hard work, and I think I try to find and make people understand that what I did in football is no different than what you do in your business. I may get the accolades, but I have to depend on people. The company may get the accolades, but it's a lot of people that are doing little things to make that thing work. And it gets to the point where, we look at an automobile, okay? I could put a Ferrari outside right now. Nice. $400,000-$500,000. And the spark plug is not in it. Not going to start with it. So that spark plug is as important as those wheels, the engine, where everything else. So I try to make sure people understand that you have to do your job to the best of your ability to make sure that machine keeps working. And that's the whole thing about it. It's just that trying to motivate people, make people understand that what I did, yes, it's on TV, but it's no different than what you do. If I wasn't working my butt off in the off season, get my body to the point where I can take the rigors of football, could I play 14 years, miss one game? 13 straight years without missing games, without missing practices. Those things, that type of stuff meant something to me. And like I was telling Thomas earlier, I was up at 6 o'clock. Lifting weights. You get in the weight room, because I know I have to be here, then I got to go to work. So you make time for what you need to do. And it comes down to being consistent, being dedicated, and believing in yourself. I was always told I'm a Mitchell, I can do anything. That has not left me since I was, 10 years old. My dad first told me that. I'm going to live by that the rest of my life.
And speaking of, there's another thing that you do very well these days, which is play golf.
Yeah.
That's your new passion, right?
Yeah, because I don't have to get hit doing that.
What is your handicap these days?
I'm at 5.8.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
But I need to go higher.
Yeah.
Because, that's a lot of strokes I have to give up.
So tell me a little bit about that. You play a lot of golf for charity and so tell me a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I used to say I'll never play golf. It's boring.
Yeah.
Then when I went to the Pro Bowl in 96, and, Coach Mike Holmgren, we didn't practice a lot. He said, you're in the Pro Bowl. Y'all know this stuff, so you'll be ready to play the game. So we practiced like 40, 45 minutes, and then I rush back, get dressed, run down to the pool. None of the guys are there. I'm like, where are the guys? The bartender was pointing his head over to the golf course. So I went out there with them a little bit, and, you find, I didn't know you can have drinks, smoke a cigar.
Yeah.
And it's basically camaraderie.
Right.
And, hit a good drive. That's all you remember. You don't remember the other ones that you shanked and hooked. And then it had a big putt. And that was in 96. Yeah. And then that was February of 96. And then August of 96, my wife bought me some golf clubs. Uh-huh. And I was like, you sure? They said, what do you mean? I said, well, they said, if you're going to be good, you got to spend a lot of time in the golf. And
it's true.
I've been stuck ever since. I think from 96 to like 99, I was like nothing but going to charity golf tournaments, the little, what's called scrambles and things like that. Then went to Philly in 2000, and Ryan Jaworski, he owned several courses and he allowed us to play for free. So myself and Ike Harris, I can't remember his first name now, but he and I and Ike Reese, we played golf. Al Harris, Ike Reese, we played golf Tuesdays, Saturdays. And I got into playing on my own ball. Now, it's something that has to be a part of my life.
So after you play?
It's fun. It's fun, but
Play a couple times a week?
Yeah.
And you played all over. You played at
I played with Scotland.
Yeah.
And then that's the thing about it. Now you want to play where the pros play.
Sure.
But it's a game where we can put together a golf tournament. Everybody's having fun, but you're raising money. Great money for great quality causes, and I love doing it.
And it still scratches that competitive itch that you have, right? Yeah. And it's forever challenging.
Yeah,
and you got to stay in shape for it.
I play with guys sometimes that are in their 70s and 80s, and I had one guy tell me he was going to shoot his age that day. And he missed his age by 2 strokes. He was like 75. He shot 77. And
Nice.
you see people late in their 80s still playing.
Right.
It's a game you can play the rest of your life. And it's a game where you get to learn about people and you get to spend 4 hours with a friend. You know, if you just want to hang out with your friend, golf is the one sport, but you can do it for a long time. And you don't have to be the best athlete in the world.
Right.
You just have to be the best golfer.
Right. And it's, like you said, the camaraderie.
Yeah.
It's just
Great.
Hanging out in a green pasture for hours and hours,
That's
you
it.
know, and getting away with it.
It's taken me to some of the most beautiful places in the world,
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
That's
Yeah.
true. I need to get back into it. I actually pulled my clubs out recently to get back into it. I
Yeah.
used to play a whole
It's
lot.
fun, man.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to play. But you can keep your handicap where it is.
Let's do that.
Okay, so you are able to come do speaking arrangements, engagements, come out and play some golf with some people.
Hmm?
You're available to do all that kind of stuff. I cannot not talk about this, and I don't know how much you can talk about, but what the hell's going on with the Skins?
Well, I say right now it's gotten into a rut, and I think what happens is people tell you winning is contagious. I think losing is contagious too,
Yeah.
and it's been going on for a long time. And I think somewhere along the line they lost the path of what you were here for, you know. And what I look at is it about football, winning games, or is it about something else? And when you hear about the culture is great, and you see no wins, you know, or very few wins. When you hear we're winning off the field, fans don't want to hear that, and nobody wants to hear that. The players don't want to hear that, because I look at this. I remember when Coach Gibbs was the coach here in his first stint. I remember it was a time I think somebody was telling me how he had made sure everybody understood. Make sure these players are feeling good and happy.
Yeah.
Because if they do their job, we all are going to prosper. I now can look at stuff, and I don't know if the players are considered the cream of the crop of the top. You know, I see people in different positions that act like they are the stars.
Yeah.
And it can't be that. It has to get back to where it's about football. Because the one thing that can happen that'll make everybody's job easy is that if the football team is successful on the field. If they're winning, everybody wins.
Yeah.
If we're winning games, the salesperson walking into a meeting is going to be able to get whatever they want. The guy trying to sell a suite can get whatever they want. The people that's trying to get a sponsorship agreement, they can get what they want. But if you're not winning, now your job become hard. You know, so that's the whole thing about it. This is a results-driven business.
Yeah.
And the NFL is the best league for owners because they're getting paid TV revenue no matter what. But I believe every one of those owners are competitive as hell too. And they don't want to just make that. They want to be able to make more than that.
Sure.
Because they make that if they don't wake up. I mean, they lay down in their bed all damn day. The money that they get on top of it and the success that they get on top of it will make a big difference.
So what is to me, it's like the whole brand is, you know, nobody, like we were the Skins, you know, we were like so behind it. And I just don't feel that that's the way anymore.
A lot of people are frustrated. They're upset. And I talk to a lot of people. I go around a lot. I do a lot of stuff throughout the stadium. And people still have that love, but they're a little less apt to discuss it. And for me, I travel around the country, and I talk about the Super Bowl and all that type of stuff. And I make sure people understand, you know, I played with the Redskins.
You played when they were the Redskins.
It's tough.
Sure.
And you want to have those bragging rights. You know, and when you mentioned that, you know, you played for the Redskins, you play now? I said, no, I played back in, because right now, and it's about pride. and I, when you go around and people are like poo-pooing on the team and knocking them, that makes me upset.
Sure.
You know, and that is why I just want people to be held accountable. I want people to feel that, that they can be dedicated to this thing and get back to where it used to be, because right now it's not. And I think now, with all the rumors I'm hearing, they understand something has to change.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to make some changes to move forward, because you look at the stadium, you look at different things, and people are speaking now. And you have to make some changes.
There's nobody there.
Yeah,
they were like showing that
you got to speak back to
nobody's coming.
Exactly.
Anyway, yeah. Well, we appreciate very much you being very outspoken about it, and speaking your mind about stuff. That's one thing that you can always count on from Brian Mitchell, is that he's never gonna like pull a punch.
And the thing of it, people, you can speak your mind. And I'm not petty about things. I'm not going to make it personal, but
you're pretty factual.
It's results driven.
Yeah.
And look at the results.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you so much for coming
Appreciate you.
And spending this hour with us. Anything that you'd like to tell the audience before we go?
Well, I just tell them, the person that you saw on the football field is basically the person that you see every day, and that's the way I approach life. And another thing, I hear a lot of people always say, "Man, I saw you, and I didn't want to come up and say nothing to you." Yeah. I'm inviting. I'm engaging. Yeah. I will talk to you. I don't have a problem. I'm from Louisiana, so we don't mind talking. If you see me out, make sure you come talk to me. Don't not talk to me and then go tell somebody I was stuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't not
talk.
Nice guy.
Don't not talk to me
approachable.
and tell them, well, he was out. He was standing up. No, you did not do what you're supposed to do. Come out and talk. And the whole thing about it is, listen, I still live in this area. I love this area. Yeah. This team gave me my opportunity and gave me opportunity to give my kids a great life, and I'm dedicated to it. But I'm not going to be dedicated to it in a lot of ways where I feel a lot of people have been, where they shut up, they don't say anything. I feel that accountability is the key to everything. And if your crap stinks, I'm going to tell you it stinks.
Well, and you're being paid to do that, by the way. Yeah. That's your job, is to call it out.
It's the same thing I did while I played.
And you have a right to do that, because you are an excellent player and you played with an excellent team, the very best team ever. The Redskins.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you. All right, Brian. Great talking to you. Thank you so much.
No problem, man.
All right. Everybody, this has been The World of Marketing with Tom Foster and my great friend and guest, Brian Mitchell. BeMitch30.com.
There you go.
All right, everybody. Take care. Thank you.